You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here today. This is Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn in the name of love. When I say the word love, I just hold someone again, have someone hold their hands. Love is so wonderful and beautiful, and I'm just glad that you're a part of our show today. I am your host, executive producer, director, and broadcast engineer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Kimmy Seltzer. Kimmy, welcome.
Hello. Well, how are you?
Well, thanks. How are you doing today?
I am good. It's actually my birthday.
Happy birthday! Oh my gosh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I thought what better way to celebrate than in the name of love.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for spending part of your birthday with us. That's amazing. What will you be doing to celebrate?
You know, I went with my kids to the beach for a nice brunch. It was so beautiful here in Southern California. We've been in May gray, and now the sun is starting to part. So I was happy the sun came out for my birthday.
That's beautiful. And you're looking quite lovely today.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you, darling. How have you been? What's up this week?
Well, this is my fifth show today. We've had some unbelievable shows. They just keep getting better and better. And we also have an amazing guest today, Donna Barnes. I love Donna. I've been talking her up all day today. She's been with us before in other shows, but she just has this great energy about her, and she's got so much experience helping people with dating and relationships and even breakups. So if somebody's going through a breakup, Donna Barnes is your person. Before we bring her out, I'm going to spotlight you, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and the value that you bring to this beautiful world.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I'm really excited about this discussion too, because, you know, there's just this state of change that is in the air. I don't know if anyone else is feeling it, but, you know, as the world is opening up for some parts of the world, everyone wants to get back out there. However, I think there's a little fear along with that. So I'm really excited. I'm actually doing my first master class for men and women combined. Usually I've been doing one, you know, each of the genders separately, but it's time to put all the boys and the girls in the room together and practice flirting. So I have my first, it's called the Ultimate Flirt Master Class, so that you can create irresistible chemistry wherever you go. And it's not just going to be a talking head type of workshop. We're going to do a lot of interaction and practice along with it. So that is May 26th, next Wednesday, right after our show, actually, at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're interested, I'll include the link in the show notes for sure.
That's great. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Kimmy?
Well, you can go to my website, of course, Kimmy Seltzer, KimmySeltzer.com. You can also listen to my podcast, Charisma Quotient. And I'm pretty much Kimmy Seltzer on every social media handle there is. So you can definitely get a hold of me in many, many ways. So I hope to meet some of you. And I offer these free breakthrough calls as well. So if anyone wants to even get a deeper look into what is preventing them from finding love, I love offering those coaching calls. So yeah, I hope to meet some of you.
Well, thank you for doing that. That's lovely. And Donna is backstage. Let's play her clip so we have a little bit of a background before we bring her out.
I don't think men are superficial idiots, that their brains are wired to be visual. You're told I give great advice.
Nike Just Do It for exercise, I think really applies to sex too.
I've coached hundreds of men and women.
So I disagree with her where she's like, put it all out there on the first date. You know, an open book is not sexy.
Exactly. You know. Do you have relationship questions? Chances are one of my clients or myself or my friends have gone through the same thing, and I already made a video about it. So I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, Donna Barnes. I've made hundreds of advice videos based on real-life experiences so that you can make better choices.
In my upcoming Breakup Recovery Action Plan, there's going to be checklists
and quizzes, best information that I've ever experienced or acquired. If you're stuck and can't move forward or let go, my action plan is built to help you. Subscribe to my channel. I'll help you have better relationships.
Wow. Welcome, Donna. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Kimmy.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's so nice to finally meet you. I feel like we've met from afar, but nothing like the real thing.
Well, yeah, to be honest, I feel like I know you too. So yeah, I agree.
I know we're going to have such a good discussion today. Oh my gosh, between the two of us with all, and I love that you focus on breakup because, and I'm sure like you'll get into this, but this has been quite a year. I mean, so many breakups, so many new relationships. It's just like, and it's like on both ends of the spectrum. Have you found that too?
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly it's an unprecedented time, right? And unfortunately, if you were single going into this, that was a really bad spot to be because you were alone, right? But
Dr. Jacalyn's waving her hand over there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure you were waving and you needed me to do something good. But and then on a bad note, unfortunately, people who were in toxic domestic situations where they got stuck at home with somebody who maybe already had a bad temper, that was up because
yes.
raising crime, and so people are on edge and just I've said from the beginning, it's unnatural to isolate yourself, and I've always told clients, especially going through breakups, don't isolate, it breeds depression. But we've all had to isolate, which I think is the reason that crime's kind of rising, crime's off the charts, right? People are angry. So I think in that, now that, yes, I just said to one of my neighbors in the elevator yesterday, I was like, we were talking about the mask mandates being removed and stuff like that. And I said, I have to confess, I just feel a little bit happy, and I have no other excuse for it, except that I feel like I'm getting my life back, right? And in that, I think some people are breaking up because you've been afraid to make yourself single in an atmosphere where it wasn't really easy to go out and date. So now that that's becoming a possibility again, if you were in something that you really wanted to get out of, but you were not wanting to be alone, now's your time. Right?
That is so true. And another thing that I saw along with that is that you really got to see how people handle stress and conflict resolution. And so whereas couples before could almost cheat their way into solving problems by maybe escaping or doing things that they could get by on. I mean, there was no running, right? You had to face things head on, and that wasn't easy for a lot of people to do. And I think they saw a lot of things that they didn't see before.
Do you think there's a lot of negotiations between couples? Maybe we'll stick it out through the pandemic and then afterwards, sayonara?
I think possibly for a lot of people. I mean, the very fact that everybody that used to go to an office was now sitting in their living room or at their kitchen table or wherever they could find a space away from where their partner was. And if you have kids, that makes it even worse. It's like, you've got a conference call, but now you're going, shh, you know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
And they say familiarity breeds contempt. And I think that's very true, where a couple that were very harmonious because you need to have a little, I've long said, if you do everything together, what do you talk about? Because you've done everything together, right? You need to keep your own life so that you're still fulfilling yourself as a whole. That makes you a better partner in the relationship. And then you have better conversation. If you're like, how was your day? Right? But if you spent the whole day together, that question's obsolete, right?
Right.
So,
you don't have as much to talk about. Donna, I wanted to address something. You have extensive experience and you're relatively famous in the dating world. And, you were in New York, now you're in Philadelphia. But can you share with us what it was that got you involved in this industry, coaching people with dating advice, breakup advice?
Well, originally just trying to figure it out for myself. It's like throughout my 20s, I was a model, right? So I was living in Manhattan. My mother had died when I was 18, and a modeling agency moved me to Manhattan in the 80s. So like that was an education in itself. But at 30, a guy that had chased me for 8 years, I finally fell in love with. And he ripped my heart out. Like, he ghosted me before that was even a term, right? And I like to say, like, there was no internet to search for answers in those days, right? So I really was debilitated by it. And a girlfriend gave me a self-help book, and I devoured it. Like, I found that knowledge was the only thing that made me feel better. So I started reading everything that I could get my hands on. And because I also do like to say, like, God help me if I'm the same person I was even yesterday. Like, I think that in the pursuit of happiness, self-growth needs to be a part of that to keep being happy with yourself. So, as I moved back to New York and was very social and very single, I like to say I went to a party and it changed my life. I was out one night at an HBO party, actually. And a friend of mine who was like a hedge fund kind of guy called me over and was like, she's perfect for what you're looking for. And I was like, what are you looking for? Right. And they were making this, they called it a documentary about single successful women in New York. And I said, yeah, you know what? I kind of am perfect for what you're for, because me and my 3 girlfriends at the time were all single and having a fabulous time out and single, and 4 single women in Manhattan. Especially like 3 of us were ex-models, like, or I was still kind of modeling then, can get invited to a lot of parties, right? So we were having a blast. And it was September Films out of London that for Sky Entertainment made a reality show. It was one of the first reality shows they called The Real Sex in the City. And it became a monster hit. It got picked up in the United States on We as Single in the City. And a channel in New York called Metro TV, which had been created for the Rangers games, picked it up and aired it as To Live and Date in New York, and was running it like 5 times a day. And it made us little celebrities in New York. It was like, and my girlfriend likes to nickname people. So she nicknamed us the Barracuda Brigade, because she'd been married and she used to tease us. She'd go, God, you got girls go through guys like fish through water. You're like barracudas, right? So then, when she got divorced, she started calling us the Barracuda Brigade. But yeah, long story short, that show aired and we got very popular from that. And then one of the best phone calls I ever got was from the president of that network, who offered me a talk show. He said, hey, listen, we're doing this show about sex and relationships, and we feel like our audience got to know you as a single girl. Do you have any interest in doing a talk show? And, I was an actress. So I was like, absolutely. So me and this guy, Bob Berkowitz, who actually had a PhD in sexology and had a show called People Are Talking, which was a very popular show previously, had originally been a White House correspondent, which is an interesting combination. But anyway, yeah, so they printed up posters all over New York that said, come join Bob Berkowitz and dating expert Donna Barnes. Because in the reality show, I'd been giving everybody advice because I'd been reading all these books. And at first I was like, oh my God. But then the PR girl said to me, Donna, you give me better advice than anybody else I know, including my therapist, right? So I then got a hosting agent who said to me, yeah, but why are you an expert? You either need a degree or you need to write a book. So I did both. He actually had sent me to an audition, and there was a girl that was sitting there and she said to me, are you a therapist? And I said, no, are you? And she was like, no, I'm a life coach. And this was, back in 2006. I was like, what's a life coach? And she was like, oh, they have this great program at NYU. So I went home and I looked it up and I enrolled and started writing my book, Giving Up Junk Food Relationships, because as I started coaching people, it became really clear to me that people had no idea what a healthy relationship even was. So I wrote my book to really, you don't know what you don't know, right? So yeah. And then, now that was in 2007, I guess, that I, finished and started coaching clients. So yeah, now I've talked to hundreds of people, which have made me even that much better at it, right? Because it's as they say, truth is stranger than fiction. And I have so many clients that call me and go, you've never heard this before, and I have to laugh.
Yeah,
actually, like, so.
I love that story. It's so true. Like, we're always our own best teacher every single time. I mean, that's what thrusts us to get so passionate about doing what we do. Because opposite to you, I was a therapist for a really long time, and then I got into the space. But it wasn't until like my own story happened where I like really got it, right? And so it's so true. That's a great story.
Well, yeah, and I always like the expression "life is what happens while you're making other plans," right? You know, I in hindsight recognize that my whole life was a pattern leading up to this. That, you know, and I certainly had some stuff in my childhood that, you know, I certainly have had an excellent therapist for a long time, and, you know, have looked at my stuff. So in coaching people, you know, it's like I'm very compassionate because, you know, and like I launched a new version of my website where I started out by saying, like, because I've always hated the question, why are you still single? Right? People say it thinking they're being commentary, but it really means, what's wrong with you? Like, why hasn't anybody wanted you, basically, right? So it's like, that's kind of what I'm basing my coaching on, is it's like, yeah, there's something wrong with all of us. But what differentiates us is if we're willing to look at it and do something about it. And the more you know yourself, the easier it is to decide who's right for you. So,
by the way, I just want to add to that. The last show that we just had, A Better You, we had a lesson, and it was about asking open-ended questions and not using the word why. As soon as you use the word why, it's defensive. It's like, oh, let me back up. Let me, spotlight. What's wrong with you? So if people can stop using the word why when they're asking a question, open-ended questions, I think it might be a little more beneficial.
Well, you know, interestingly, like, you know, Oprah is, you know, one of my just, you know, she's been terrific at trying to get self-help out to the average person, right? But I actually had just launched my new thing, and then I saw Oprah has a new book called What Happened to You. And then I saw her on Dr. Oz talking about it, and she said, and I thought this was brilliant, right? That she said, no one wants to hear what's, you know, like, you know, why are you this or why are you that? But like, you know, what happened to you is just such a more compassionate statement, right? Like, you know, if someone says to you, like, that cares about you, what happened to you, right? Like, wow, that's an open-ended question, right? But like in a good way, as opposed to the judgmental why. Like, you know,
why are you the way you are?
As that's the standard. And actually that reality show that we did, right, that really became a huge success, right? And then Richard Bay had a radio show on ABC, like in New York, right? And he was a friend of mine, and he was like, hey, come be on my show. So we were all talking about being single and stuff, and the callers called in were so hateful that we were having a great time being single. And they were all like, oh, come on, you want to be married, you want to be, and I was like, you know, I don't know that I'm ready to get married yet. Like, I'm having a great time. Like, if I meet the right person, you know, although that was a mistake. I met some terrific people at that time. I probably should have. Now I've never been married. But at, you know, 35, like, I'm like, if I could be stuck at 35 in Manhattan, when New York was really, like, you know, in the early 2000s was on fire and was a fabulous place to be, that, yeah, it was really fun to be single. And that's largely how I help people, because I like been there, done that. Like, you know, it's like, but the people have that expectation of you're supposed to get married. And I think that is where that judgment comes from, in that, you know, you're supposed to be with somebody. What's wrong with you? Right? Like,
and it's actually a lot of fun when you're by yourself. I think I'm very much about, I have a great life. I don't have anybody. I don't want anybody. So thank you to those people in Messenger who keep asking me if I want to marry them or date them. Very nice, but it's very sweet.
People sliding into your DMs, Dr. Jack?
Yes. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You know, I just realized we didn't take a break. So we're going to have to take a break right now and hear from some of our sponsors. And then we'll be right back with Kimmy and Donna. Stay with us. Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hi, welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn in the Name of Love. I'm here with Kimmy Seltzer and our guest, Donna Barnes. Donna was just giving us some of her background, her modeling career, how she actually got involved in coaching. And she's been always been a big success in the coaching industry. So we're happy to have you. Kimmy, you and Donna, I believe, you do some of the same type of work, and I think you have your own little your own approach to it. So I think it's great that you're both here today, and I don't think you've ever met in person, have you?
No, that's what I was saying. Like, I feel like I have, but maybe we've just crossed paths somewhere.
Yeah, I have to confess, like, you're so familiar to me, right? That I feel like
it's weird.
I did live in Los Angeles in the 90s, so I don't know if,
I wasn't here yet. I'm from Chicago originally, so I got here right after you probably. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I moved back in 98, so yeah.
I'm glad to know you now, whatever it was. So to really know you, what you were talking about, and actually, Dr. Jacalyn, what you were talking, just like, having fun being single, I think that's so true. And I do think there's a difference between like what was kind of the norm in the 90s and what is now. Like, I think the expectations and also it's kind of being accepted is different now. And I don't know if you're finding that, but I also find is that a lot of times when you are single and you've been so for a very long time, or maybe you've had a bad breakup, this kind of relates to the breakup thing, or toxic relationships, and that there's also some crossover with fear. And I was right. Like, I think we can say out loud, I love being single. And that is very true. But at what point does the fear factor creep in that prevents you from finding opportunities and love because it's just easier being single, right? And so I thought that would be a good place to talk about, because I find that a lot of times people don't even realize they're in that state of fear. Like, have you found that as well, Donna?
Well, yes. And because too, especially after a breakup, you need to actually go through the 5 stages of grief before you're ready to date again. And I definitely have clients, and I created an online course to help people going through a breakup, because I had noticed that people were on my website and on my YouTube videos at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, because you can't sleep when you fall asleep, but then you don't stay asleep, and once you're awake, then your mind's off and running again, and it's really difficult. So I think you do have to go through those 5 stages of grief to really, and that's my whole point about, like, the best way to get over somebody is to really scrutinize the relationship and who they were. And I always say the greatest gift is if you didn't have a good relationship, right? Because, the heart wants what the heart wants, and but it goes back to that you don't know what you don't know, right? So
100%.
if you can really look at the issues, because unfortunately, I've had some pretty amazing women as clients that were married to narcissists that, narcissists are.
That's a whole other show.
That's a show. That's a show and a show and a show.
A show and a show. That was one of my most popular podcasts, actually. They're like, Kim, keep doing more of those. I know. It's a big thing.
Well, because it really damages your self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think that's true for, I think it's like, I always say, like, the breakup is the first time that most people are willing to go, well, what's wrong with me? Because what they're really saying is, why don't you want me anymore? Right. But
right.
I always say, like, I personally think that you have to get to rock bottom before you're willing to look at things and work on them and try to do something different. And rock bottom for most people is a breakup, right? Mm-hmm. Most people don't lose everything they have and go to jail, or like they might get fired from a job, but hopefully they find another one. Like, really, like the first rock bottom. And I've had some clients that have made it to, like, one of my favorite clients was a 49-year-old man who was very successful, who'd never had his heart broken. And then, like, all of a sudden, he was, like, debilitated. He paid me so much money. And, he kept saying to me, how do I get her back? And she was not a good person, right? Like, he'd tell me these horrible things that she did. And he could, like, intellectually recognize. Like, he took her to go, like, to Chicago to go meet his mother. And his mother cried. She was so terrible to her, right? Like, and I, like, every time he'd say, how do I get her back? I'd say, she made your mother cry. Like, you don't want this woman back. So, but like fear, yes, exactly. Like, I think the biggest fear, well, besides the fact that many people have abandonment issues, right?
100%.
And I guess coupled with that is the fear that they'll never love somebody like that again. That was the one person that was so perfect for them, and they'll never love like that again. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're not willing to let go, you won't find love again. And if you use that painful time to really look at your stuff and learn things about yourself, and really grow, and you have to be comfortable being by yourself before you can be a full partner in a relationship, right? Because otherwise it's codependence. So, I think if you've had your heart broken, that's the best motivation to then really look at your stuff, because you're not ready to date yet. I've certainly had a lot of clients come to me because they've been through a breakup. They thought they could just rebound into something else, and it made them feel worse. So then they are like, how do I feel better? Like, what do I do? So,
you know what? I wanted to say something about that client that you had, because I think I have been there in my life once or twice where you thought you're so in love. Oh my gosh, I just love this person so much, and they're so horrible to me. And then the relationship ends and you just feel sick. You'll do anything, throw yourself at them. And then for some point you realize what a narcissist the person is, and they were not what you thought. You had these rose-colored glasses on and saw somebody who wasn't even there.
Well, yes. And I always say you can't feel rejected by somebody that you don't want. So really, like, clients will always say to me, how long is it going to take me to get over this? And I always say, until you're ready to really let go and recognize that you do not want your ex back. Because, they'll say they don't want their ex back, but secretly in their heart of hearts, they know that, like, if their ex called tomorrow, they'd be right there, right? Like,
I gotta go.
It's like, until you get rid of that feeling, then, you're going to hurt, So I think it is, like I say, it's a gift if somebody you can recognize is really toxic and really not good for you. Like in my own breakups, because unfortunately, I've had at least a dozen, right? Like, like of all of them, there was a guy that, oh my God, I thought was the best relationship I ever had. And like, honestly, I'd say to all my friends, he knows what I want before I know what I want. Like, he's amazing. He's so loving. And like, but to be honest, he was a director that I had worked with. And I knew that he had been married, but he told me that they were separated, and I'd stayed at his house. I had no reason to believe until his wife confronted me and was like, hey, can we talk? And I'd actually said to him, does she know you're dating? And he was like, yeah, she knows I'm dating, but I don't want to tell her it's you because we were working on a project together, right? But it's like, oh my God, this conversation is burned in my brain, right? Because she said to me, look, you seem like a really nice girl, but like, is my husband not your boyfriend? Please leave him alone. And I went, actually, he is my boyfriend because he told me that you're separated and that you knew that he was dating somebody. And I thought, great, like let's get this out in the open. And she said, we've never been separated. We're trying to adopt a child, right? And I was like, oh my God. Whoa. And she was like, can we talk? And I was like, yeah. And she and I went and sat down. And now granted, I was living in New York and then this was happening in Los Angeles, right? So like we traveled, but he'd come and stay with me in New York. We went to Boston together. Like, I mean, it was like for like 9 months, right? But my long-winded point, like I got over that so fast because this poor woman sat and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And she was like, everybody tells me I have the most amazing husband. And I was like, yeah, I get that. Right? Like, so like, but like, it was really clear to me that I didn't even know who this guy was, that probably is a sociopath, right? That he had 2 complete lives going on. And like, and I got over that really fast. And I think that's what I try to say to clients. If you can really internalize that someone's not who you thought they were, or more importantly, that they're toxic to you, then love yourself first and decide that you want better.
So true. Well, there's a resiliency that gets built up over time when you're able to get over things, but that comes with experience, to your point. And I love what you said about the broken record thing, because the past is connected to, kind of the future and the choices we make and the patterns that get created, right? So if you grew up with a narcissistic parent, you will keep trying to play that record over and over and over again to try to get the love. And until you really sit with it and work through that, you'll keep creating that pattern for yourself, even though because we're all attracted to things that we know, good, bad, or indifferent, right? And
right.
That is where the work is. And so I love that you highlighted that too.
Well, I always say nothing changes if nothing changes is my absolute favorite expression.
100%.
Because it's like the definition of insanity, right? So yes, we all have patterns. And if you're not willing to really look at it, then you're just going to keep picking the same people in different wrappers. Like, it really...
The same guy in different costumes. I always do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's you again. Oh, there is you again.
Oh my God, how'd you get here again?
I thought you had longer hair. No.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. Right,
yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about, and I think, Donna, you and I had talked about this on another show, but given that we're coming out of COVID and that people maybe they don't want to be with somebody 24/7. Maybe they really want someone. We talked about the fact that maybe you can live here and this person can live there. And there's all kinds of things you can work out so that you don't have to be with someone 24/7. I think it's more acceptable now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I think, especially like if you really have a wonderful affinity for each other and you do have a lot of commonality and you enjoy each other's company, but just little things get on your nerves. Like maybe they leave the toilet seat up or they don't wash the dishes, or like little like living together things. I always used to say you can't go backwards, but maybe sometimes it's not going backwards. It's going forward, in that if something's really making you crazy, and actually you have to talk about it. Like I made a video years ago called "Don't Let Your Best Conversation Be Your Last." Because so many clients tell me that as they were breaking up, because now there's nothing on the table anymore. It's like that airplane syndrome. You'll talk to a stranger and tell them anything because you're not going to see them again. So when you think you're done with the relationship, that's when you can just let it all out. But I try to encourage people, if you can do that while you're still in the relationship, then you don't know what you don't know. You can fix things. Well, at least you can try to fix things. Like I always say, I can't walk away from a relationship until I've tried everything that I can to make it work. So if I've done that and it still doesn't work, then that's another quick way to get over a relationship, because you're like, yeah, this doesn't work, right? But if all of that stuff is working, but there's a few things like they say you need to agree to disagree, living in a separate dwelling is a great way to agree to disagree. But then, and then, like I had mentioned to you back when I had my talk show, there was this woman that wrote a book called The Bitch in the House, where they built a guest house on the property of and I think it was her husband lived in the guest house full time. And then they'd have dates with each other where, you know, she'd go to her husband's house or he'd come to her house and they'd have fun little dates. And like, then they also had their own space and
keeps it interesting, right?
I have to say, like, I had been living with my ex when I'd left New York, which I didn't think I was going to leave New York. It just got too stupidly expensive. And, you know, I now live in my own apartment in Philadelphia with this amazing view and there's a pool on the roof. Like, I love my building. My neighbors are amazing. Like, I'm so happy here. And I didn't realize how much I really needed to have my own apartment again. It's part of my soul because, you know, I was a New Yorker. And then, like, who am I? Like, what was I? Well, I simultaneously was trying to start a new relationship, which in hindsight, like, no wonder it didn't work. Like, I really wasn't available. Like, you know, so yeah, I think sometimes having your own dwelling and space is exactly what you need to maintain being your whole self that you can bring to a relationship.
I like it. That's my ideal situation.
You have like another penthouse next to you and you can just like good guys over there and just keep your whole thing separate. Well, and I love the new term, the situationship. I love that word because it just encompasses so many different like kinds of relationships that, and I think we're going to see even more creative type of relationships moving forward after this whole thing, like, you know, to your point, being cooped up so long. And I think that this is going to be a time of exploration. So I really predict that, well, Dr. Jacalyn and I, we were talking, I think it's going to be girls gone wild, guys go crazy.
Yeah.
It'll be spring break. Then we're going to recalibrate. And then we're going to look at like different situations and what really works for us because we've had so much time to reflect and really take a look at ourselves and understand what it is that we want, that I think moving forward, we're going to demand more for ourselves.
I really hope so. I think it's been good for people in a certain sense to not have that rat race, having to rush to do the commute and to really then just be more present also, like hopefully.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's, I think we've had a great discussion and there's so much more we could discuss, but of course we're at the top of our show. So, Donna,
fast.
I know, doesn't it?
It did go fast. Yeah.
I knew the three of us we could just go on and on. So hopefully we'll get to, like, Don, I know I'm definitely going to meet you in person because you're right across the bridge. So, well,
yes. And now that it's like, you know, Memorial Day, I will be down the shore. So
perfect. You know, excellent.
We'll definitely have to meet up.
Donna, what's the best way?
I'm coming to New York in September, so maybe we can meet up.
Oh, yes.
Let's do that.
I just want to throw that out there. Yeah.
Yes, let's do it.
I would love that.
Send us your dates and where you're going to be. We'll figure it out.
Okay, cool.
Okay, excellent. Donna, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Oh, well, DonnaBarnes.com is the easiest thing to remember if you remember my name. So, yeah, DonnaBarnes.com, or my YouTube channel is Donna Barnes. YouTube/Donna Barnes. So, yeah, like Kimmy said, pretty much I'm either Donna Barnes or the Donna Barnes on everything. So.
And just as a reminder, what are the services that you provide to your clients?
Well, I'm a dating and relationship coach, but breakups seem to be my specialty. And I've launched my Breakup Recovery Action Plan, which is a full program that fits so much more that I could fit into just a few coaching programs. It's really about becoming the best version of yourself in the process of scrutinizing your ex and letting go, or figuring out if it was a good relationship, how you can get it back, right? So, and then out of that, I'm now working on, in a few weeks from now, I'm going to be launching my Best Me Action Plan, because you don't have to be going through a breakup to make better choices for yourself. And even in a relationship, like we had discussed earlier, right? Like if both members of a relationship are interested in working on themselves, then the online course that I'm getting ready to launch, I think would be a great platform, because then my talk show, people used to stop me on the street and say, thank you, you made my relationship so much better, because they'd see something that we were talking about, and then it opened the dialogue within each other, and it caused them to talk about things that, neither one of them brought it up. So like it was less scary. And I was really excited about that as we had conversations, they got picked up at home. So I'm hoping to do that with my new upcoming online course, that you can work through things together. And then it's not necessarily you're saying like, hey, I need you to do this. But if you watch it together, then it's easier to say, yeah, I think that too, so yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all of that. And again, thank you for having your beautiful face, your glow, your personality, all your experience here gracing our stage today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you, and it was great to meet you, and happy birthday.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. So good to have
the
you.
rest of your day. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Donna. I'll be in touch, and we'll have you back soon.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Oops. Kimmy, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your birthday. I am so excited that you shared part of your birthday with us here today. So we wish you all the best.
Thank you. And it was fun celebrating with you ladies. And yes, we will do that in New York in real life.
Definitely. Donna is a blast. I can just tell, like, as I told you, I've met her 4 times or so. And I feel like I have this connection with her. So she's pretty amazing. Kimmy, where can we reach you, and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, again, my website is kimmyseltzer.com, and you can pretty much find me on social media at Kimmy Seltzer everywhere, and on my podcast, The Charisma Quotient. And again, super excited to be offering my first masterclass. It's called the Ultimate Flirt Masterclass, so that you can create irresistible chemistry wherever you are. And it's, I feel, perfect timing to exercise that social and flirting muscle so that we get used to each other again. It's for men and women, and it really is going to be like hands-on practice. So I hope to see some of you there. You can find that by going to eliteimagemakers.com/flirting. I'll try to put it in the show notes as well, or just get in contact me and I'll send you the information. It'll be next week, May 26th, 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kimmy. Happy birthday to you. Wishing you all good things, and I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Happy birthday. Bye.
Bye.
It's been an amazing day. As I told you, we had 5 outstanding shows, and I'm just thankful to all of our guests and to our co-hosts for being here and showing up and just bringing their A game and just doing a great job. Thank you. I do want to announce, in case you haven't heard, my first book. I am launching it. Actually, it will be available for pre-sale on Sunday. It's called Behind the Green Screen: How to Succeed in the Live Broadcasting Business. And the book is a how to build your own live broadcast. This is not a podcast. This is live. So anything could happen, and there's nothing I could do about it because we're live. After we stream live onto 6 platforms, we then become a podcast on 5 other platforms. So my book is a how to step-by-step build your own live broadcasting platform, and intertwined are my personal stories of how and why I left the corporate world last year in March. So it's very vulnerable shares, and I hope that you will support my work and you will go to Amazon on Sunday and pre-order. The book will actually be launching for sale in terms of it'll be delivered, and it's available June 17th in honor of my mother, Joyce Kerbeck. It's her birthday, and that's how I want to celebrate with her with the launch of the book. So thank you again for being here. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We've got 6 shows, I believe, and every one of them is just totally different, unique. We've got our presentation platform, A Better You. We also have our performance show, It's Your Stage, where you get 32 out of 40 minutes to come and perform. So whether you're a singer, a juggler, a belly dancer, a hula hooper, an author, and you want to read part of your book to us, that's your time. And then, of course, we have It's All About Dating with my co-host Lisa Manioki, and two, A Better You program. So join us tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you, and take care of yourself. Thanks for your loyalty. We really appreciate your support.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.